Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of the Fearless Aging Podcast, where in every episode, my guest and we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. So before I introduce today's topic and our expert guest, I have a question for you. If you've been wondering how well you are aging, well, I have the solution for you. You can go to my main website, agelesslivinglifestyle.com, and right there we have a free aging assessment. And if you don't like the results, you can book a free call with me and we'll discuss what challenges you're having, and I'll give you some quick and easy solutions and get you going on the right track. All right. So the title of today's is a really interesting one. It's called Personalized Wellness Based on Heritage and DNA. So this is going to be really interesting. And our guest today is Anthony Hatcher. He's a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist and the founder and CEO of Me&my Wellness, which provides holistic health solutions using food as medicine combined with a holistic, balanced lifestyle approach. Anthony holds 3 bachelor degrees in complementary medicine, nutrition, dietetic medicine, and chemical engineering. So, Anthony Hatcher, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Rico, and hello, listeners. Really delight to be here and look forward to enlightening your day with the information I'm about to share.
Yeah, I know I was recently on your podcast, and then now we're having you on mine. So, we'll have another really good, fun conversation and give some good information for people. So, let's start out by let's give us your definition of wellness.
Yep, my definition is the it's very individualized and to the individual. So it's what's wellness to them. You've asked about what's wellness to me. So wellness to me is looking at health from a holistic lens. So it's looking at the mind, body, spirit. Some people call it the mind, body, spirit, but yeah,
Mhm.
I look at that broader lens. It's beyond just food, nutrition, and exercise, sleep. It's beyond that. It's way more than that. However, yeah, I can understand some people have their definition, and that yeah, but it's a subjective definition. So mine is a holistic one.
Yeah, I totally agree. So my definition is it's really the same as yours, but I just say, it's mental health, it's physical health, and then it's everything. It's financial health. All those things create wellness in our body. So you want to feel good mentally and physically, right?
100%. Like
I,
I totally agree with what you're saying because if you don't feel financially safe and secure, then that's going to put you in a survival mode or put you in a stress state, and that's
yeah,
no good for your overall wellness. So I
yeah.
totally agree with you. It's wellness in the context of the wholeness of life, every aspect of life.
Yeah, it's just like the universe. It's always about being in balance, isn't it? And well, let me ask you your thoughts on this too. I don't know why, but we humans seem to be extremists, right? We're always seem to be doing extreme things. Most people are either extreme on one end, either they're exercising too much or not enough, or same thing, eating too much and bad foods, or not eating any good foods at all. I don't know why are we such extremists, do you think?
It's our survival wiring. So we have this very primitive wiring which is oriented towards survival. And survival is extreme. I'm either alive or I'm dead, right? So,
Yeah,
and that's pretty much why people do this whole polarization is that they're either pursuing something as if their life depended upon it. So that's prey. So our life depended upon prey, and so we used to pursue it at all costs, right? I'd hurt myself in the pursuit of getting that prey. Otherwise, I don't know when the next food source is going to come along. That animal, I lose it in the jungle, then I
yeah,
don't know when the next animal I'm going to see is going to come along. So that's the towards. So we are wired to go towards things, and that's our prey. Or in today's world, that's consumerism. In today's world, that could be sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? So it's a pleasure seeking thing because it keeps us sustained and nourished. The other side of it is the avoidance. So it's the avoidance of the predator, running away from the predator. And
Mhm.
that's the other extreme. We're either running away from something and constantly running away, or we could be not running away, but fighting it. We could be fighting the government, fighting some authority, or fighting our parents, or fighting a colleague, or whatever. But that's very much in that primitive state of wellness. Like it is a survival state, but it's not a higher level state of well-being. It's
Right.
very,
Yeah.
yes, we need it. We need it. We obviously need to nourish our body and we need to keep ourselves safe. But that, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's the very bottom of the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, ultimately, our version, Rico, of wellness is the ascension of the pyramid. And I think that's where people are stuck today is very much in that survival way of living, either seeking something or avoiding something.
Yeah. That's so true. That's really well said, Anthony. Yeah, it's true. Just on the eating thing, as you said, if you make a kill and you get some food in those days, you better eat all you can because you don't know when you're going to eat again. And people are still doing that, but
Yes.
that's not the case anymore. You,
Yes.
you know, you don't have to eat all you can because most likely there's going to be some more coming up. Yeah, that,
Uh, uh,
that's really
100%. And that's a that is primitive wiring as well. It's it's feast and famine, and that's very polarized if you think about it.
Mhm.
And you mentioned extreme exercise and doing no exercise. Again, that's feast and famine, and so we do that with food, we do it with exercise,
Yeah,
we'll do it with anything that we either desire or anything that we're trying to avoid. We'll go all in, and it's very much black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking. But
yeah,
that type of thinking and that type of living is very primitive, and it can result in cancers because essentially we're not growing or thriving. And if we are just surviving, we're more likely to struggle, and therefore our mitosis, our cellular reproduction, won't happen in a coherent way. It will happen in a very, I guess, non-coherent way and a very degrading way, and that's cancer. So
yeah,
we certainly want to get away from this black and white thinking and all or nothing thinking because
right.
ultimately it's really hurting. It hurts us emotionally because we get very emotional about it, upset and angry and frustrated. And that affects our state of physical wellness. And so it will cause blood sugar dysregulation. It will cause, the reverse of what you're seeking. If you're seeking weight loss, it'll actually cause weight gain. And so it'll just cause, dysregulated hormones. Your hormones won't be working for you. You'll have low mood. You won't be able to build muscle. All these things that it's essentially your body's working against you.
Yeah, again, really well said. Yeah, we have to get out of that mentality of the old dog eat dog world, and
Yes.
everything's dangerous, and we got to be so careful and all that. And again, as we mentioned earlier, it's really about being in balance, and most things in moderation work a lot better than anything extreme. Any extreme diets or any extreme exercise or any extreme things are more so likely are going to be detrimental long term for you. Yeah.
Absolutely, Rico. I just want to pick up on that because you mentioned a real key word in terms of moving forward and helping your listeners achieve health and well-being. You mentioned this term balance, and people sort of think, oh, I'd love it, but it's too hard. It's too difficult. I don't know what it is. But it's something that we strive towards, and it's something that our body's constantly trying to maintain. And so we need to work with the body in terms of finding it, right? And so it's not that you arrive at this perfectly balanced utopia world. You never do, right? So, but it's something that you constantly got to put work in, and we need to put work in order to maintain order in our body. And that's effort. That's like making better eating decisions. It's like exercise, making better exercise decision. It's, choosing who we hang out with and socialize with. It's making sure that we manage money well and that we're not just consuming things and sending ourselves into debt and all those sort of things. So I think this whole thing of balance is also important, not only physically, but mentally, because if we have extreme thinking, and it could be extreme health is like, thinking that we need to do health to the extreme, that's actually damaging to us. And we call it orthorexia. So it's extreme health. It's like, really counting every calorie. It's exercising excessively. It's doing saunas excessively, cold baths excessively. It's doing meditation to the excess, and we really lose connection with what life's all about, right? Because we're in this extremism mentality. So we can do healthism to the extreme, and we can also do, I guess, unhealthy practices to the extreme. What we want to do is look at the balance of how we think. So if we're thinking negative, like I'm unhealthy and I'm doing bad things and we're beating ourselves up, well, that's an unhealthy mindset to have. And that's going to probably result in a distress within the body that's probably worse than eating the food. And so, in order to get that coherence between mind and body, we need to think like, okay, food is what it is. If we judge it and label it, then we see it as bad or good, right? But if we just see it as it is, our body can deal with it so much better. So
Right.
if we have something like a treat or something naughty or something nice, we don't want to then go into this mindset of, oh, I'm going to have to like exercise 5 hours tomorrow and all this sort of stuff. We want to like get away from the labeling of that, saying it's bad and it's only treats and stuff. What we want to do is see it as it is, and the way we see the wholeness in things is look to balance the way we think about it. And if we're thinking about something negatively, we've got to start thinking about the positives and how it serves us. And so, for example, let's get back to the treat. You may have had it with a friend and you really enjoyed having that ice cream with that friend and you deeply connected with that friend over that ice cream. And so the ice cream was like the conjugate that brought you together. And food typically, historically, has brought people together. And
Definitely.
yeah. And so we want to see the wholeness of that situation is not just beat ourselves up for having an ice cream and seeing that ice cream is 200 calories or something like that. What we want to see is the bigger picture. It brought us together, we connected, and then your body's in a coherent state. If you see the ice cream as it is, right, as opposed to judging it as 200 calories and labeling. So when we see the bigger perspective, our body can deal with that blood sugar spike and it won't overreact because it's
Exactly.
in a coherent state. So I think we need to get away from this extremism and labeling food as bad or good and labeling exercise as bad or
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it's really hurting us.
Yeah, that's so well said again, Anthony. And we're definitely on the same page. I tell people the same thing. Look, if you want to eat a piece of chocolate cake once in a while, well, then just really enjoy it and bless that food and say this food's going to be good for me. It's going to make me feel good, and that's the kind of then your that's a reaction your body's going to have. But if you say I shouldn't be eating this. I feel guilty, but then your body's going to say, "Oh yeah, well this is bad for me." But if you say this is fine, I'm not eating chocolate cake every day. That's exactly right. That's exactly the kind of approach. And I like how you're talking about the labels. We need to get rid of all this, what's good and bad, because nothing's really actually the whole universe is good or bad. It's just our judgment about those kind of
Yes,
things. Yeah.
100%, Rico.
That's well said. Yeah, we're really on the same
Yeah,
page,
yeah,
Anthony. That's really
yeah.
good. Well, before we get into to what you have to offer in some of your programs, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got into doing what you do.
Yeah, so I started my journey as really unhealthy, a sick kid, and I had ear, nose, throat infections all the time. So constantly had that gluey ear, constantly had a sore throat, sniffly nose, struggled with sleep, struggled with energy, and just felt not 100%. And it affected the way in which I socialized and played and enjoyed sports, and I was in and out of seeing specialists and going hospital and getting surgery. And so I had a link to health that I didn't have health. It was missing in my life. And so that drove a real hunger for health. And ever since a little boy, I've been wanting to consume and understand health and educate myself and empower myself on health and well-being. And so I've had a lifelong learning in terms of health. And through that, it's been an evolution. Obviously, science evolves, and you need to keep up with the science and health, and my perspective on health has changed over time too. Because as a kid, it was about food and nutrition. Sleep wasn't even a big thing back then. We didn't really, a bit, I mean, most of us were getting pretty good sleep back then. So that was my journey, and it's what inspired me to go into the career path I'm in today. Is helping others with their health. Is that I I love it. I've got this inspired interest in it. I have really empowered myself, and now I want to share that knowledge that I have with others and help them along their journey.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel the same way. And again, I mean, people, I think, people understand that how their health is so important, but mostly they don't deal with it until they don't have good health, So health is our true wealth is our health. If you're not healthy, you don't have anything. So that's the message that we just really want to get out to people, that it's so important to make your health a top priority, because it's the foundation for everything else in your life, whatever you want to enjoy or accomplish or make an impact in the world. You got to have good health and lots of energy. So that's so good. So before we talk about why you talk about how you do personalized wellness based on heritage and DNA, we'll get into that in just a moment. But I wanted just one more thing I want to ask you, because you say that your company, Me and My Wellness, exists because wellness has become too complicated. So what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we overcomplicate wellness into thinking that there's a silver bullet, right? There's one thing that I'm missing. I got to find that thing, and that's going to bring me everything, right? And
Uh,
so we're in pursuit of this fantasy around the silver bullet of health, and we lose sight that health is actually really simple. It's really basic, and we've discussed the foundational principles of health. We spoke about how we need to have a healthy mind, a healthy body, and ultimately a healthy connection with life, and see it as it is, and not label it or judge it, and really have that transformational and evolution of thinking and growth of ourselves and being the best version of who we are.
yeah,
However, we complicate it. We think it's there's always something missing, but it's within us, and we just need to get back to the simplicity of health as opposed to chasing supplements. And this is what really disturbs me today, is that the supplement market is exploding, but we don't need it. The food, if we eat whole foods, as you know, Rico, if we get outside and get sunshine, if we spend time in nature, if we spend time and truly listen and connect with other people and not judge them, and we have everything we need around us, and we don't
yeah,
need to spend huge amounts of money on supplements and huge amounts of money on the latest, cryotherapy, or, we need to do these, extreme cold plunges or extreme saunas or anything like that. Nature provides heat, nature provides coldness, nature provides day, night, it provides food. And it provides us with periods that, again, you mentioned it earlier. We don't really have much famine. We don't experience much famine, and
yeah,
hence why we need to make some effort around intermittent fasting and stuff like that. But it's really just getting back to the basics,
yeah.
nothing more than the basics,
No,
fundamentals.
again, I totally agree with you in every way, And isn't it true too that everything really in our world, in our nature, everything is all the real basic truths are simple, simplistic things, Exactly right. We just tend to really definitely overcomplicate things and overthink things, and it's just really getting back to the basic things of natural living is that's the message that we need to get more people to understand. And yeah, your body can you can get your body back in balance and heal itself with just doing just the basic things, eating real food and moving your body and breathing and relaxing and having fun, laughing, and all just basic things. You're your own best doctor, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%, Rico. And I think you touched on all the fundamentals. And if you think of the costs of doing the fundamentals, it's very cheap. Like
yeah,
getting outside,
yeah,
is free, right? But spending
yeah,
time outside, in the bushes, as you said, breathing, it doesn't cost us anything to
yeah,
breathe. To do mindfulness, we can do it at free of charge. We can get a good night's sleep, and it doesn't really cost a huge amount. We obviously need some shelter, And then like the food, if we stick to whole foods,
Yeah.
they're really cheap. Like the other day, I'm here in Australia for the listeners, but you know, for two Aussie dollars, which is probably $1.50 US,
Hmm.
I brought a kilo of onions, 1 kilo of onions. I had a look, and I think it was 100 grams of a packet of lollies cost $4, right? I can get 2 kilos of
Yeah.
onions
Yeah.
for the price of some rubbish, right? So
Yeah.
if we stick to whole foods, and they're affordable. They're really affordable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Right. I wrote a whole paper a long time ago. I should look it up again. You know how people say, you tell people it's so essential to eat organic, and they say, well, it costs more. Well, so what? I mean, but actually, you know, if you know how to buy it and cut out all the junk stuff
Yeah.
that you don't need,
Yeah.
you're not going to be spending more money
Yes.
because you're buying a lot of
Correct.
processed packaged stuff that costs money
Correct.
that is just you don't need, you know. So,
Correct.
so that's kind of a myth too that it's so much more expensive to eat organic. But you know what, too, Anthony, I have a friend, a doctor friend, and he says when he tells his patients, he's a holistic doctor, and he says to eat organic, and they say it's too expensive. You know what he tells them? He says, "Have you? Oh, really? Have you checked the price of cancer lately? You know, it's talking about
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so
That's
yeah,
true. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know,
yeah.
the treat there for treatment. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Anthony, let's talk about what you offer people in your coaching. I do coach people online as well too, so we
Yeah.
get really virtually. Okay, so let's talk about your wellness programs based on heritage and DNA. Talk about the heritage and DNA aspect.
Yeah, so I like to work with the foundations of health, as we've discussed. Keep it real simple and make it easier for the clients that they don't need to buy, you know, hundreds of dollars worth of supplements. They can just work with what who they are and how they were or how they evolved based on their heritage. All
Hmm.
right. So understanding where your mother's from, where your father's from is really important because you've got evolved DNA, adapted DNA based on where they came from. And what's, you know, where we struggle today is that we often are living far away from our you know, our evolved DNA, where it spent like it could have spent a couple of hundred years evolving in that location. We've then moved, and our DNA is now going through adaptation, and it's struggling in that process of, you know, in a new environment. So
Right,
it's good to know where you came from an environmental perspective, because often those foods still resonate with you. You still have a good adaptation to those foods. And so it can be worthwhile, you know, if you've got an Italian heritage, then, you know, and it's sort of low part of Italy, it's, you know, around the Mediterranean, well, you'll probably find that, you know, Mediterranean style diet is probably
yeah,
going to work quite well for you.
right,
Getting sunlight will work for you. Spending time in a sauna will work for you because around the Mediterranean it's quite warm.
right,
Whereas if you're from northern Italy or England where it's
yeah,
colder, then if you do like deliberate cold exposure, then that's going to be beneficial for you. If you eat foods that are available in those cold climates, which is probably going to be more the fat and the proteins and less of the carbohydrates. And so hence like, you know, people around the equator can digest and assimilate carbohydrates really well. But as you go north and south of the equator, it becomes less plentiful, right? And it's more sort of animals that can survive in those colder climates. And so people in England should be, you know, eating more cold fish. Even if they've come to Australia or they've gone to America, you, those sort of foods will resonate and easily assimilate and be digestible in your body because that's you've got DNA that's well adapted to that.
yes.
Um,
Well, I was just going to say, yeah. So the foods that are grown where you live are usually the foods that are most adaptable, and you can utilize them the best. And also, as you said, the foods that your heritage, where your heritage, where your ancestors lived, and the foods that they ate, those are still going to be kind of good foods for you. So, like you say, if you live in the north in a cold climate, you probably shouldn't be eating pineapples and papayas and that kind of stuff, right?
No, no.
And if you live in Hawaii, yeah, you probably shouldn't be eating, like say, well, what do they eat in Norway? And you shouldn't be eating what they eat, cold fish or whatever they eat
Yes,
there. Yeah,
correct, correct, correct. So
that's,
so there's, but however, like we do need to eat what's in seasonal and around, like, so local and
yeah,
seasonal is still key,
yeah.
but I think it's like the macro composition that's really well linked to our DNA. So it's sort of the ratio of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So if you're if you've gone down to the equator, you have an abundance of carbohydrates, as you've just shared, in terms of fruits and things like that. Um, then, but you've come down from England, for example, your your DNA is well adapted to, utilizing fats, well adapted to utilizing proteins, and less adapted to utilizing carbohydrates. So
Mhm.
again, it's having the fats and the of where you are, the fats and the proteins of where you are, because of the light signature. So there's a bit of nuance in it, but it's really ultimately just working with what works for you. And as you said at the start, you are your best doctor. So if you eat this food and don't feel good as a result of eating that food, even if the health people label it as good and superfood, it's not for you, right? It's not
Yeah,
for you. And so you need to get down to this personalization. And ultimately, Rico, you just nailed it. It's you are your best doctor. If you're eating food and it doesn't bring you energy, then that's not for you, no matter how good it is. And if you eat foods that are like labeled bad, like for example, you might have a German DNA and eat lots of sort of fat, demonized as fatty foods or fatty meats. You eat that and you think, no, I feel good when I eat that. Well, that's good for you, right? That's good for, but, and this is why I don't like this demonization and labeling of foods, because ultimately we've evolved and adapted to where we were raised and brought up. Well, our ancestry was, but I guess if we've moved and relocated, if you're in a bad state of health, the best way to get back into the best state of health is get back to where you're from. But that's not easy for everyone. But ultimately, that would be the quickest solution would be to get back to that latitude of where you were brought up. And we see a lot of migration today. Like we have a lot in Australia, we have a lot of Indians coming over. And as you know, they're very equatorial and they
hmm,
come to Australia and there's not as much sunshine and that really affects their well-being. And so, again, their health can just not be great simply because they're away from where their heritage evolved from
yeah,
and it's slowly adapting to the new location.
yeah. That's such important information. Well, tell us a little bit well, I just want to say, first of all, I mean, that's why it's so important, to get some help. There's so many, good holistic doctors these days, functional medicine doctors, and naturopaths and people like you and I that can really help you to determine, what are the best ways, what you need to do for you to create a personalized program that's going to work for you, and it's in food and exercise and sleep and all those things. So it's just so important to get some help, and there's no lack of help these days. There's so many people teaching courses and training and stuff. So I just want to get that message out to our clients too. Get some help, and uh, I hope people see what you have to offer, and they might want to contact you. So talk a little bit about how you work with people in some of your programs, and then how people can contact you and how you can find you. And I know you have something, you have a nice something that you have to offer there for free to our audience when they go to your website.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer that finding the right person to help you. So, and that's why there's a wide variety of healthcare practitioners. So ultimately, it's connecting with the person and having that connection will start your healing journey. And so this is why I offer a free discovery session because I'm not for everyone. I am right for certain people. And so this enables you to sense whether I'm the right person for you. So I have a free discovery session with you where we get to know each other. I understand what you're looking for, and I see whether I'm the best qualified to help you with what you're looking for, or I could direct you to someone that's more qualified or could be better helpful for you. So I offer this free discovery session. It's certainly available to all your listeners to just touch base with me. If they think that, I sound okay and what I shared today resonates with them, then it's probably worth touching base and we can have a chat. And if you think I'm right, then we can work together. Because ultimately you want a win-win situation where you both
Yeah.
enjoy the journey together.
Absolutely. Well said again, Anthony. So yeah, we'll put that information in the show notes and it's how to contact you. So I highly recommend that you again, I just want to emphasize you don't have to go it alone. You don't have to stay confused and make things so complicated. There's lots of easy, simple solutions, and someone like Anthony can really help you to do that. So I highly recommend that you check him out. So we'll put that information how to find you in the show. And so Anthony, it's been so good. Again, it's so much fun to have a conversation with you because you and I are just so on the same page. So it's been a lot of fun, and so I really appreciate you having you on and all the good information that you have to offer people.
Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate you inviting me on, and I really enjoy our conversation. So thank you
Yeah.
once again, and thank you, listeners.
And so I like to always end my all my shows with Einstein's one of Einstein's brilliant statements that knowledge without action is useless. So we always give you some good information, some wisdom, some knowledge, but you got to take action on it, right? So you got to step up and take action. So I highly recommend that you contact Anthony. And also, again, I highly recommend that you go to my website and take our aging assessment. I think you'll find that really interesting. So, thank you, everybody, for being here. And if you like today's episode, tell your friends about the Fearless Aging podcast. Thank you, Anthony. That was really good.
Thank you, Rico. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.